Hello and welcome to the Legendary Ladies podcast. Me and Kat are here this week, and Amy is off, but hopefully she will hop in next week. We miss her here, but we decided to uh, go into the world of Black Mirror because the new season dropped very recently. It's season 7. But because Black Mirror is an anthology show, and Kat wasn't going to watch all of them, I like to watch depressing, like future technology about like the way that the world's going to disintegrate. But I don't know that that's Kat's vibe.
I'll say,
So
like, I don't mind that as a theme. I just don't
uh,
love anthology TV shows because, like,
that's
one episode
fair.
could be great and then the next one's a stinker. So I'm like, oh, I'd rather watch a movie, you
And
know?
and honestly, I would say this season of Black Mirror was actually pretty good. I think
That's what I heard.
I liked every episode at least somewhat. But there were seasons where yeah, there was like a couple of real duds and you were just like, "Oof, that one was bad." So
And
yeah, that
they're
that is
long too. They're like, this one in particular was a movie length. It's an hour and a half. So it's just like, at
yeah.
this point, like, why not just make a movie? Which I know they have made a Black Mirror movie. So
Wait. Oh, yeah, they made that like interactive
interactive.
Netflix movie where you could like
Mhm.
make the different choices. In fact, there was an episode in this season that had a character that was in that like interactive movie.
I heard
So it's
that,
like
yeah.
things are like yeah, connecting together. They did a this season they did a sequel to the USS Callister episode.
That's Phil's favorite
Oh,
episode.
that's one of my favorite episodes too. That one's so good. The
He said it
sequel
was a
was
little disappointing, the sequel.
honestly the sequel was fine. It was good. I had a fun time with it. I didn't think it was necessary, like, I thought that the place that the first episode ended was more interesting than, like, the place the second episode ended, and I didn't, like after I watched the first episode, I didn't feel like I needed a sequel, so when they were, like, announced a sequel, I was like, "Well, that's great, I really like that episode." I mean, is it necessary? So I rewatched the first USS Callister episode before the second one because 'cause it'd been so long since I watched the first one, and I got done with the first one, and I was like, yeah, I didn't need a sequel to this. Like, I thought that immediately. I was like, "Oh, I hope the sequel's good because I don't feel like I needed it." But,
I heard
uh,
the Rashida Jones episode was the best this
the
season.
Rashida Jones episode was insane. It was, like, rough, like, a rough episode. So, the basically, just the premise of the episode is that they're like, Rashida Jones and her husband are, like, together, and then she has, like, sort of like a brain aneurysm, and they're like, "Oh, we can save her, but it's going to be, like, by basically, like, taking out part of her brain, and we'll, like, fill it back in, and it'll be kind of like a subscription that you pay to like basically keep her alive. And as you can imagine how that can go, if you've ever had a subscription service and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse, um, that's sort of the whole premise of that episode, but in like a very dark way. But it was very good. But I got done watching that episode. That was the first episode too in this collection. I watched that one first, and I had planned on like watching a couple that night. I watched that one. I went, enough for me for tonight. And
Enough Black Mirror.
I just closed out of Black Mirror for that day. I was like, nope, that was it for me. In fact, I think I paced myself. I think I watched like one episode a day because some of them are very dark. And I'm like, I can't watch two in a row if it's, it's going to leave me on a bad
I'll
feeling.
say this one, and we'll get into this one, but
Yeah,
this wasn't as dark. Like, this was one of the, I think, lighter ones. The only, and
I
I also
agree. Yeah.
knew this before. I don't remember if it was live or not. I've only seen Junipero. I
San
pronounce
Junipero. Yeah.
Um, because I heard as the gay one, I was like, ah, you gotta watch it. And I have to say, and this is coming from someone who's not a Black Mirror fan, that's not one of my favorite. Like, it didn't make me want to
Yeah.
watch more. I know because I loved it. It didn't make me want to watch more Black Mirror. Like, I liked
Wow.
the like feel of that episode, but it just wasn't for me. So I never really went to watch more. And then I heard this episode, and we were talking about things that we wanted to review this week, and we are just like, yeah, the Black Mirror has like gay episodes. This is only my second Black Mirror episode
I
ever.
like that you've watched both of the gayest
Yeah.
episodes of Black Mirror. That's perfect.
It feels
It
right.
feels on brands. It feels correct. I love the San Junipero episode, which
Most
is so
people
funny.
do.
And this does feel like kind of a I don't know. There are similarities. So we're going to be talking about the Hotel Reverie episode of Black Mirror,
I'll
and I
say
was
that what I saw the comparison of was like someone coming from a different time to find another person at a different time. That's what I thought was familiar with.
Yeah, I was gonna read the little description I found on
Yeah.
Wikipedia. So this episode centers around an actress who's played by Issa Rae, who stars in a remake of a 1940s romance film by acting in a simulation alongside AI versions of the characters through an immersive AI-based virtual production. So yeah, that's kind of the tagline of it. So basically the story of the Hotel Reverie is that, she's like an actress and she's really, like, unhappy with the roles that she's getting, and this old studio that's made a lot of, like, classic 1940s films but can't, like, get anything made now, an AI company comes to them and they're like, "We can recast these old this, like, classic films that you have with like the hot new stars." For some reason, they're always focusing on Ryans, like Ryan Reynolds, and
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, okay." I don't know if anybody necessarily needs to see him in like a 1940s madcap comedy, but okay. So they try to get all these different actors to like star in Hotel Reverie, and the only one who says yes is Issa Rae's character. And they send her all the information about how this is going to work in the AI capture, but they send it on a small flash drive that falls out of her envelope and she never sees it. And I think that's sort of like the inciting incident. So when she shows up to film this thing, she is surprised to learn, even though she knows all her lines, that she won't be acting in it like a normal production, but that they're just going to kind of plunk her into the movie and she's just going to kind of act her way through it in the lead male role.
Yeah. And what I thought was interesting about this episode was that Hollywood commentary about remakes, obviously. Um, and I think there's this commentary, I think, about meta acting, because obviously she gets very, very into the role and feels like she's living it.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting. But and I like this episode. I thought
Me too.
this was a good episode, but there was something that took me away from loving it. And I think it's because there were these like really interesting themes that never really go home run. Like even the spoiler alert, but we'll talk about the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Like I liked the romance as it was going on, but then when obviously the movie has to finish, like I didn't even quite understand the ending where she just like meets up with her again in a this weird way. And I was like, so what was the point of that? I don't really know.
Yeah, it's like, I think the ending is kind of bittersweet. It's like, it's nice that she can talk. So in the end, they send her the movie becomes a hit, and and after she and the main, AI character of the main actress fall in love, um, and she gets pulled out of the movie, and the movie becomes a hit, and then she's like, they send her out a video, and it's like a video of the actress when she was doing, like an audition for the part, but using a special telephone, like Issa Rae's character can talk to her on the telephone, like the AI version of the actress. And it's like, I mean, I guess that's sweet, but like that's not a real relationship. Like, yeah, I don't know if we're supposed to get from it that, like, it's nice, it's sweet that they could talk one more time, because there you can also see the kind of Black Mirror dark version of this where she just becomes, like, obsessed with talking to the AI version of this actress that she loved, but there's never anything that can they can't have, like, a life together.
Well, is it a commentary about parasocial relationships? Because that's what got really confusing. And so she's not just a fan, she's an actor too. She admired this other actor, she admired the movie, and then obviously they started to like each other. So that's where I feel like the themes get a little muddled, because obviously with Black Mirror and like these type of shows, there's a bigger meaning. There's a bigger meaning about technology and what does that mean about us? What does this mean about AI? And I think that's where there was like too much being tackled. The idea of remakes, the idea of meta acting, the idea of parasocial relationships, all while you're tackling something that's really, really new, which is this AI being used in art, right? AI has only been really in the forefront of this conversation for maybe like 2 years or so. So
Yeah.
it was this like really new conversation that I don't think we have enough information about to tell a story like this. But then the elements I enjoyed was just kind of the ride, right? If I didn't think too much about it, like I enjoyed the actors, I enjoyed the old Hollywoodness. I think if you like old Hollywood, you see a lot of the visuals, you're like, yeah, I feel sucked into this movie. I liked Awkwafina when she was on screen, but I also felt like she was underutilized. Where I was like,
Oh,
oh, I
yeah,
kind
for
of wish she
sure.
was in this more.
I I legit kind of forgot that Awkwafina was in this,
Mhm.
which is very funny because, like, obviously she's, like, a big name too. She's, like, the other big name in this episode. But yeah, she's not utilized, like, all that much. Like, I think she's very funny and, when she's in the episode, but when she's not on screen, it's easy to forget she's there.
And I think something with Awkwafina I've noticed because I have like a love hate relationship with her career because I really love her serious roles. Like I really like the farewell. I just saw Quiz Lady, which was like a comedy
Oh,
movie.
I hear that's great, but I haven't seen it.
It's really good. I saw it on a plane because I was going like, oh, this is
Amazing.
fun. It's 90 minutes. And what I really liked about it, A, it's like this guy like Jeopardy kind of movie, but it's Aquafina playing someone different than you would expect. She's like the straight laced guy that you poke the jokes at. And then Sandra Oh, of all people, who is a very dramatic actress, is the comedic one and is like the crazy sister. And it's just like, oh, that's really fun to see Aquafina not play type to herself. And when she does play type is when I don't really love the stuff she does. Like I didn't like her in Raya. She's okay in Shang-Chi. Like there's what she was a freaking Little Mermaid. Like I didn't really
She
love
was
her
in The Little
subtle. She's
Mermaid?
subtle in Little Mermaid.
What? Okay,
Yeah.
you can tell I forgot to see The Little Mermaid.
You don't need to. And her song is really interesting. But yeah, when she's playing up that side of her comedy, I tend not to like it as much. But when she plays these more serious roles, I do, which is why I kind of wanted to like her more here because she is a little bit more serious in this. Like she is trying to figure out what's going on with this movie and like control what's going on when things go haywire. So I actually, like I said, I was a little disappointed that they didn't do more with that because I think this is the Aquafina that I tend to like a bit more.
Yeah, the weird thing for me is that I really liked this episode in terms like, I liked the episode. I really liked in terms of the story, I thought the story was really interesting. I liked the classic movie vibes. The thing that didn't and I hate to say this because I really like her as an actress. The thing that didn't work for me is Issa Rae in this. I didn't think she was particularly good in this
I
episode.
didn't feel their chemistry as much. Like I
I
like
didn't feel their
her.
chemistry, and even when she was, like, doing the acting
Mm.
in the movie, I understand that she's kind of just thrown into it and they're like, "Okay, go." But, like, I just didn't feel like there was, like, a lot of charisma there or there was any chemistry with her and the main actress. It was very strange, like, everything about the episode worked for me except her performance, but because this is like a two-hander kinda episode where it's just about her and, the Dorothy Chambers character, it's, like, less successful, I think. If your whole episode is about this love story and I don't really feel the chemistry of the love story, like, I don't know.
Because what I think is interesting is that I think there's moments that are filmed really very well. Like obviously their
Oh, for
kiss and
sure.
like that build up to the kiss is really good. But then when you take them out separately, like it's hard because like also that actress, the one that is the old Hollywood actress. I like that she's slowly learning about these things and being like, oh wait, like this is who I am, and they learn more about each other's relationship. But there's times where that has to reset, and she is still playing an old Hollywood actress that's like more not as depth in this. So that's also hard too. That you have to have this that type of character with another character pretending to be another person. Like it's like there's a lot trying to be played that maybe works against a love story to make it a little simplified. But it's hard because again there's moments that I could see the comments shouting at us and being like, what do you mean chemistry, look at that kiss, look at when they were in bed. And I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
there's looks and things that feel right, but the actual romance, I agree, I don't know if I felt it, and I'll remember it a year from now.
And I would agree that, like, all the plot scaffolding on top of it is hard because Issa Rae's actress character, whose name I'm escaping Brandy Friday, which is a very funny, actress name. I could see it. I could see that it being, like, a big actress in the '90s or something. They send Brandy Friday in, and she wasn't prepared for the AI thing, so she's just kind of like, to,
I
like,
know my
everything.
lines.
I all she knows is her lines, and she doesn't understand about how the whole thing works, like, she's not prepared, so she's, like, startled by everything. Then you have her, like, having this relationship with the character that Dorothy Chambers is playing. But then somebody spills something on the machine and they get stuck in this sort of paused AI world, which is where and then the character kind of gets into all the AI data about her actress. So then it's more like she's like, I don't know, like connecting with the actress during this pause break and they're falling in love, but then it resets and it's back to the actress playing the character. So it gets really confusing. So like, yeah, like creating a kind of coherent love story when you're like, well, is she the character Clara or is she the actress Dorothy? Like, who are they actually? Or, I mean, I guess it's actually a third option, which is that she's like an AI combination of the two. So I think, yeah, I think that kind of like that confusion on top of honestly my issues was like I just didn't think I was feeling the chemistry from like Issa Rae or like the acting there, and then it just kind of ends up being like it should work. I feel like came out of that episode being like I liked the story, but like it didn't 100% work for me.
And the queerness, I think, gets a little muddled too because of on the layers on top of it. Because she's playing a male character, which, from what I understand, the viewers will still see a black woman, but like
Yeah.
she's also playing that male character. So it's like, is she falling in love with this person because she's playing a character, or is it because she loves the person? And by the end, you could kind of tell she loves the person, but the queerness aspect is kind of thrown out the window. I felt like the commentary of the queerness. There's like little moments, but then also it's old Hollywood. So like obviously queerness is very different back then. So I don't know if that completely was struck
I
as
feel like
well as it could have been.
I feel like you could read into the fact that she was interested in playing kind of like the male love interesty characters even before this kind of comes across her desk. She says something
But I
like,
thought it
"Well,
because
like,
she
why
just wanted
can't
more gutsy roles. That's how
that well,
I
yeah,
interpret
but I think you could have a read on it where it's like maybe there's some like sexuality stuff underneath of
it.
that, and she is like she says like I want to be in this movie not as the Clara role, but as like the Dr. Alex Palmer role, and like that's the only way I'll do it. So presumably she knew she was going to go play like a gender swapped queer role, and she was like excited to do that. So I feel like but you're doing a lot of the work there, honestly. You're like, "Okay, I guess I can get there with, like, what's going on there." I did like when Clara the AI Clara, like, steps into essentially, like, through the two-dimensional world of the movie and into all the data that the AI is made up of and gets to see her actress's life. She gets to see Dorothy's life, and you see this sort of flashbacks that Dorothy was queer, that Dorothy had relationships with women, and that it was like, it had to be very secretive at that time, and that's why like part of her depression and part of why she died. And I thought that that was really interesting, especially because I had like a couple months ago read the was it the Seven Husbands or the Eight Husbands? I think Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo,
Mhm.
where that's like a big storyline. And it's kind of taking place in the same time, like golden age of Hollywood. And she has to like hide this like same sex relationship that she has with another actress. So for me, I was like, oh, this is very like Evelyn Hugo coded. So I liked that. But yeah, like not all of the plot stuff worked for me constantly. I thought that it started to get very complicated because you have this thing where the story starts to veer off because because she can't play the piano
Right.
correctly like the character was supposed to play. So then things get out of whack, but then somebody also drops like a drink onto the machine, which stops the machine. It's like, okay, well, a lot of things are going wrong now in this movie.
The thing I liked about the show episode was the way the movie was constructed, though. I thought that was very interesting of like, again, it goes back to like the more meta acting and the more like, look, the actor made a choice, but that's not correct for the story. Like I thought that was all interesting that those threads were important. Like just because like one domino didn't fall correctly, then the other dominoes didn't fall correctly. And I thought that was like an interesting commentary on like storytelling. So I think honestly, I think if what this episode succeeds at more is old Hollywood. Like, if I had to say, like, what
Agreed.
does this
Yeah.
do well? I don't know if it's a queer romance, and I definitely don't think it's the commentary in AI in Hollywood, but I do think it's old Hollywood, and you could tell there's a love there, and it made it feel a little bit more Twilight Zoney because you had that kind of old school feel too. So I enjoyed that aspect a lot.
Yeah, I liked the aspect of, like, when the plot starts to veer off, they start to have to, like, cue card out, like, "Okay, well, this plot domino affects this other plot domino," which at the end of the movie now is going to result in basically Brandy Friday being killed, which could kill her at like, actually kill her, and then they have to figure out, like, okay, well, like, the inspector she has to meet the inspector and diagnose his allergies. Otherwise, like at the end of the movie, he won't recognize her and she'll get shot. And I thought that that was really interesting about, kind of a commentary on how plots get set up and how, one thing affects another thing and how they had to like move things around. So I thought as like something about the like Hollywood writing process, I did find that really interesting.
Yeah. Do you, as a Black Mirror fan, do you feel like it succeeded on what Black Mirror should be? Or do you feel like, from what I understand about Black Mirror, what Black Mirror is like every episode should feel different, and just like the tie together is, the commentary on technology.
Yeah, every episode is like wildly different. There are more lighthearted ones, there are more like positive ones, and there are like crushingly depressing negative ones.
Sure.
Um, so this one felt a little bit lighter on like the technology stuff. I mean, besides like the AI, I guess was the big thing. And I could for sure see this, if they could ever figure out this technology and just start redubbing old movies, I believe in my heart that they would immediately
I
start
mean, look at
doing
the
that.
live action Disney movies. Do we need any of them? No, but they're like, why not?
No, they'd put anybody's face over Simba or whatever, like whatever to sell a dollar, to sell, a movie. So I could definitely see that. And it did kind of make me feel like it did kind of connect to like real life things. Like AI was a big part of what the strikes were about in
Mhm.
Hollywood, the writer strikes and the actor strikes. So I could, it does kind of feel like the studios are chomping at the bit to use AI to kind of dub over people or change performances or do anything to like cut down costs.
But I felt like the commentary on AI itself, I didn't know what they were trying to say, I guess, because the idea of like, okay, so she was dubbed in and AI'd in. Like the idea of that, what I would think AI is that you can never replace the human. But with the story, like, if anything, the AI had a human heart. Like she started to learn about how it is to be humans. I didn't really understand what they were trying to say about AI in Hollywood.
Yeah, I don't know that it had as clear of a like technology message as some of the other episodes where like, we were talked about earlier about common people, which is one that's all about, how streaming services like once they get you and then they just make they degrade the quality of the service more and more and you have to pay for what used to be your like your common level is now your premium level is now your plus level is like it just gets more and more expensive and or they start shoving more and more ads and things like that felt like a very commentary on on those kind of services. This felt less like I understood exactly what they were saying about AI or exactly like what the opinion on AI was. It seems like bad question mark, but also she fell in love with the AI
Right.
character. So I don't know. But also I think again, like yeah, the ending is bittersweet, but also like she can never be with the AI Clara that she's in love with because that lady died like 50 years ago. And so she's basically just kind of in love with an echo that she met inside like an AI echo of somebody.
Which is so
So
strange that she did fall in love with her because like she is an actor and like wasn't she just playing a role? Like that's the part I get a little confused by too, is like, yeah, she's an actor. Like that's why I thought it had to do with like what happens when you're a meta actor, like when you become the character. But like I don't
but I
know if
feel
they
like
really
she
did that
never
here.
really became that character because
Right.
she seemed like so she seemed so startled the entire, first act of the episode where she was like, "What? What? What?" I never felt like she was really embodying the character, more like she was just trying to survive in that AI world from moment to moment.
And then when she had
Uh
time to leave, she's like, oh, I like it here.
Exactly. She's like, "What if I never leave?" Which "What if I never leave" felt like it was a very, like, when that was seemed like it could be the way that the episode ended, it seemed very, like, San Junipero to me, like, I would rather live in this, in this alternate universe with this person I love than the opposite, but that's not ended up how the episode
With
ended.
with that episode too, what made more sense was that they did live in time periods where queerness was, not as open. So like I almost wish our main character was the AI fame, woman of the golden age, because then it's like, oh, I want to stay here because I get to be me. But like the character, Issa Rae's character, like she lives in 2025. I'm not saying this is all perfect, but like she
No.
could play a queer character if she wanted to, and she could
Yeah,
be a queer person.
I do think that's, like, one of the things where I think to understand why she might wanna live in the AI world, you would have to really, really buy into this romance. She is so in love with Clara or Dorothy or Clara Dorothy that she wants to stay with her forever because it doesn't have to do with, like, her awakening to her sexuality. It's more her loving this person and being really in love with that person, and that's where it kind of falls down for me because, again, I didn't it's not that I didn't buy the romance, like, it was well written, I just it didn't do that much for me. I don't think that they sold it as much. They also did some of that romance through, like, like a variety of flashes, and you're like,
Montages, yeah.
these montages, they're not helping me get there. I need to know why these 2 people like each other, and it's gotta be better more than, like, they're both just hot, like
You need the monologue. You need that moment where they like kind of stare in each other's eyes and they talk a little bit more. And I don't think that happened. But going back to the queer thing, I actually think that's something that's strong about this episode too. Is like I think most of the time you think, oh, well, because they can be open to who they are. Like that's not even the reason why she's staying, which is kind of a cool thing. Like I like that. But like you said, there has to be a reason why she does stay then. And I just yeah, I don't know if I bought in the romance, but it's such a weird thing to say that because I don't think they like there's parts of it I don't think they did badly at, but I agree. Maybe I
No,
think there's
yeah.
like a missing scene. There's like a missing like great. It's like when you think of the Bly Manor, like how they built that relationship. Like
Yeah.
honestly, like there is a lot of montages, especially towards the end, but there's like the moment in the garden, there's the moment like there's like scenes that kind of build on each other to make those montages stronger.
Yeah, they're getting to know each other through that season of television, and the relationship is building so that when they do those montages at the end, you're like, I ugly cried at the end of Bly Manor,
You
and, like,
feel for
I
them.
yeah, and I feel like that they kind of wanted you to do like, they kinda wanted you to feel that way in this episode, that, like, you're so invested, that this is such a beautiful love story, like a tragic love story, and I was just like, I mean, that was a great episode. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't there emotionally, and I think it's just because the characters are either in a movie for half I'd say the characters in a movie for most of
Yeah.
the episode. There's, like, a small window where they're spending months in this, like, static reality of the AI movie because, like, every minute is however many hours. Any minute on the outside is hours for them on the inside, so they spend 3, 4 months or something in there, and I think we just needed more dialogue. I don't think that you could just do calendar pages turning and them, like, skipping through the lobby or, like, playing the or learning to play the piano. I think we needed them to have conversations and, like, real heart to hearts or, like, even banter or something so that I got, like, what was so unique about their relationship and their love story that this successful actress would be willing to live in like a 1940s movie. Like, I don't know. I wasn't quite there at the end.
Yeah, because maybe there's the commentary of like she can't get the role she wants, but even that, she just seemed like she was getting enough roles. Like she wasn't getting like the Ryan Reynolds roles, but it didn't seem like she was having a failure of a career either.
I think what we're supposed to take from, like, those early scenes is that she was sort of unhappy in her life, and that kind of explains why she would be willing to, like, throw it all away, because I think somebody who's, like, has a pretty active social life, is pretty happy at their job, even if they meet somebody great, they're not gonna be like, "You know what? I just can't stay with you in the 40s. I'm so sorry. I got other stuff going on back home."
Right.
But I think you're supposed to see her in her big,
Especially a
empty
person you just
Hollywood.
met.
I know, just what, like 4 months together is not that long. But sh I think you in the beginning, you see her in her big empty Hollywood house. She just seems sad and lonely, and she's not getting the roles that she wanted. So I think you can jump to her making that crazy choice, but it still seems like a crazy choice. Like, it's like, I think as a viewer, I was still like, "Oh, Brandy, no."
And it doesn't read throughout the rest of the episode. Like, again, it's such a small moment, and maybe you're supposed to read between the lines. But I was just like, no, I kind of want a little bit more to know why she's unhappy, or like dig a little deeper of why she'd be unhappy. And um, yeah, it's like, and that's why I say it's a weird episode, because I didn't hate watching it. I do think it was a
Oh,
little
no, I liked
long,
it.
but I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed the whole Hollywood stuff. But if you, it's like one of those things, like it's like a popcorn flick, where it's like when you think too much about it, you're gonna start not liking it, and it kind of unravels. But if you just gotta think surface level, yeah, it's a fun episode of television.
Yeah, like I when I compare it to San Junipero, which I believe was much shorter than this,
Yeah, yeah.
I
I think
think
it's
it
only like
maybe
50 minutes if
I
I
was about to say, I think
honestly.
that was, like, under an hour.
Yeah.
The chemistry I felt between those 2 main characters and the relationship that they built between those 2 main characters over the course of, like, less than an hour, and then I compare it to this one, it's really not, like, fair to this one because like, whether or not you like San Junipero, I think that the actresses did such a great
The
job. They
chemistry is
The
good.
chemistry's great. They really built that relationship. I understood why these 2 characters were in love. I understood, like, what they meant to each other. I think that was just the ingredient that was missing from this one, and it's perhaps because they kept switching in and out of, her being a movie character and then her being more close to her real like, the real actress, and then back to the movie character, where it's like, how are you supposed to get, like, momentum up for that? Like, we if we were gonna if the whole relationship from Brandy's, perspective was going to hinge on those, like, 3 or 4 months that she's stuck in stasis, we should have spent way, way more time in there because that is, at the end of the day, then that's the heart of your story because that's when they fell in love. And instead, they did a lot of that through montage, and it
Mhm.
probably only takes, like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes of the hour and 15-minute runtime. The rest of
Even
it is
the
like
ending was
hijinks.
very long, for like the love story ends, and then I think there's like another 10 minutes after the movie ends. I'm like, oh, what are they gonna do for those extra 10 minutes?
So
So
true.
it's a weird episode. I'm glad I saw it. I'm glad I saw the gay episode of the season.
You
Black
gotta see
Mirror,
that you should commit to watching every single gay episode that comes out of Black Mirror, and that'll be
let's
your
do it.
experience of it.
I heard the one with Anthony Mackie is really good. The one where he like it's him and
Oh, yes, I just thought of what that episode that's the video game
yeah.
episode? That episode's wild. I actually would recommend that episode. That episode is crazy.
I heard that one's like a really good queer episode. So I probably watched that. But I it's also interesting with Black Mirror, because I feel like the show's been around for a long time. And then I looked it up, I'm like, whoa, it's really been around for a long time. Because
Because
it's only like what, seventh season, but it's been out for like over 10 years.
yeah, they took, like, years and years and years between a couple of the seasons. So even though Black Mirror is in going into season, 7, it started in hold on, I'm trying to look it
I
up.
want
I
to
think
say it started when I was in
oh
college.
my god, it started in, 2011.
I started when I was in high school.
It said the first 2 series aired on British television in 2011 and 2013, and then they did 2014 Christmas special, and then it moved over to Netflix, and it aired 2016, 2017, 2019, and 2023, and then 2025.
And it skipped
So
so many years between the pandemic.
so ma if you think, like, yeah, it's been, like, what, like 14 some years it's been on, but it's only done 7 seasons.
It's
That's
crazy that it's
wild.
been around for 14, and obviously, like, I'm sure if you look at the first episode compared to this last episode now, the things we talk about is so weird. Like, again, there's movies like Her and stuff like that where you, like, talk about, like, where the future is gonna go with, like, artificial intelligence, but now that it's, like, kinda actually here, it's like, "Oh, wow, that's super
One of
weird."
the one of the funniest things for me is to prepare for, because it's an anthology, sometimes I just missed episodes and I was like,
Mhm.
whatever. But because it was coming out soon, I was like, you know what? Let me watch like the 2 episodes from like a couple of seasons that I missed. So one of the episodes I watched was the Miley Cyrus
Oh, and I
episode,
heard that's such a good episode.
which I loved. I know I feel like Black Mirror fans are kind of like divided on it because it's a little bit cheesy, but I thought it was adorable. I thought it was really cute.
I
But
love
it's
Miley, so
Miley's great. I think you would really enjoy the Miley episode. But it's all kind of based around this pop star who releases a little robot with an AI of her personality who can like talk to her fans and be like, "It's me, Ashley too." And I was like, so this was really I think was released in like 2019 before AI was really even that big of a thing. And I was like, well, that's chilling because like you see like Meta like Facebook announcing like these chat bots that are like your favorite celebrities. I think they backed off on that because everybody was like, that's weird and I don't like it. But like you can see that that's the way it's going. And like I could see in like a couple of years, the celebrities are going to try to monetize their personalities by. I could absolutely see a celebrity releasing a little robot with an AI personality of themselves that talks just like them. I was like, that is for sure the future, and like not even the far future. I think at this point, but like
yeah.
that was predicted like back in 2019. Like AI wasn't that big of a thing, and certainly not like generative AI like we have now with like Chat GPT and all that stuff.
Well, that
Uh,
and I think like Discord has like the little kind of little AI bots that could do stuff for you. So it's
mhm,
like it exists, but you're not like a celebrity voice. But it's just like,
yeah.
yeah, that's crazy. And there's like so many more movies like that that's coming out. Like obviously, like I said, Her came out a while ago, but you have the movie Companion. That's kind of like, oh man, how about if you're the person you love was a robot and you could like program them and it's like a kind of like a sex doll robot. And then obviously you see where the movie goes, but it's just like, oh yeah, that's like it's wild that now we're like kind of getting closer to that technology and that's like weird, you know?
Yeah, it's funny to like sometime every now and then they will like talk about a new technology that's coming out or like a thing that they're thinking about and it will be like exactly a terrifying thing from Black Mirror that I watched like 10 years ago and I'm like, "No, you cannot do the robot bees." Like I watched that episode of Black Mirror. Anytime I see those like Boston Dynamic like robot dogs, I'm like, "Kill it with fire."
Well, they're even making that the Neuralink I want to say it's called where you could like put in your brain and they've very successfully done it where it's like you could like turn off your anxiety and like all these different things where it's very controversial because it's also
I'm gonna
like
go out on a limb and be like, "Do not put that in your brain."
no, definitely not. And I think they've like successfully implanted in someone's brain. And like that is stupid
That person is
and
making
wild.
a real choice, a real I like but, like, yeah, this kinda crazy stuff is for sure just coming down the pike, and, like, one of the Black Mirror like, especially some of the early seasons of Black Mirror, like, you would then, like, a couple years later, see whatever they were kind of predicting, like, a echo of it, and you'd be like, "Don't do that, I watched the episode about that, and it does not end well for us."
No, and I mean like Skynet, right? But like
Exactly.
there's like even little things like I was watching Eddie Burback who does like YouTube videos and he made a video about the Google Lens and like talking about like what life was like using it for like a week or two. And it was very interesting because he's like, "Oh, it's such a weird technology that you have these things in your brain, you like swift like things around." But he pretty much his conclusion was like, yeah, it's stupid. It's not really usable now. But how about if they do make it less clunky? How about if they do fix some of the things? Like, would we make this like our phones? And then he was talking about like in LA right now, there's these delivery robots. So instead of like using an Uber Eats person, they're like robots that you put your food in and like they Uber Eats and them use these robots to give it to people's houses. And right now, again, they don't use it's not that great, but like that's also such a weird concept that they're like taking away these jobs from like
I was like,
Uber
"Cool,
Eats.
take away these, like, very, like, not even well-paid jobs
Yeah.
that people are doing that, like, these companies like Uber and Uber Eats don't, like are basically have employees, but they don't have to pay them like employees. They
Well,
can
there's the
put everybody
self-driving
as
cars
contractors."
too. There's like
Yeah,
those ones where they can't go that far right now, but there's like the Uber thing where it's like 10 or 15-minute drive where you go in a self-driving car and there's no driver.
yeah.
Just
The
and that
self-driving
exists.
car yeah, and you'll see stuff about, like, the self-driving car, like, swerving while they're
Mhm.
doing stuff or, like, would the self-driving car, you know, swerve out of the way of a pedestrian or something, it you can see, like, the way that the technology, like they get so excited about the technology and you're like, "Are you thinking about some of the downstream implications of this kind of stuff? Because it seems like it could be bad."
Well, something that's interesting too is like I remember when that like Tesla truck thing came out, the Cybertrucks, and I was like, that's so stupid. And the amount I see on the streets, like where we like live in New York, I'm like, I see a lot of them. At least once a week, I see one of them. And I'm like, oh, that's so weird. We were making fun of it, and now people want it.
Yeah, truly one of the ugliest cars I've ever
Oh
seen.
yeah.
Every time I see one on the road, I'm just like, "What is it? What?"
But I'm
It's
also
just
seeing
like
them a lot more now. Like, I used to
really?
never see
Oh,
that. Yeah,
no.
a lot more I've been seeing them. Like, I saw them in different states too. Like, I remember I was in Seattle and I saw them. In New York, at least where I live, like there's a good chunk of them I've been seeing around. There was one I saw literally a few days ago and had advertisement on it. I'm like, that's so ugly. It had like a
Amazing.
dot, like let's say www.com. Like what the? It was like a walking billboard, but it was a Cybertruck.
Oh my god. Well, one of the, like, the dark thing about the episode we were talking about with Rashida Jones, like, Common People, is that when she gets, like, dropped down a subscription tier, they start running ads through her, which was like, like, she says something early in the episode, and it's kind of like, "This is a healthy way to start the day," and I remember when I was watching, I was like, "Oh, no, are they running ads through her?" No, because, like, you start subscribing to a service. Like, I've had Amazon Prime for years. Suddenly, my shows that I watch on Amazon Prime have ads in them. And I
Yeah.
was like, well, they never had those before. Now I guess I just have to sit through them or pay them more money for the
And we're
thing
so
that I
used to
used to
doing
get.
them too, right? Like we're like even with like an app game, right? You'll be like, I like the game Cooking Fever. It's like a little mobile game, but a lot of them be like, go check out our game, go check out this, go check out TikTok. I'm like, oh my God.
All the
Give me a
ads.
second. But then I'm like playing some like Pokemon Pocket. And I'm like, oh, this is a free game and I don't get any ads. So that's I'm sure it won't last that long. But I'm just like, oh, that's so interesting. Because I was thinking of other apps. I'm like, does every app do that? I'm like, I guess not. Depending if you're like like if you're Pokemon Go, I guess you could do it. But they're also wanting you to have in-app purchases. So I'm guessing they're trying not to annoy you with ads because they're like, well, I want you to buy my, dollars to buy this, this, and that instead.
It's funny because this one, I remember, like, when the AI first started to pop up and, like, the generative AI started to get better, one of the things I would see people would say would, like, "Imagine you could, like, put yourself into your favorite movie," and I remember thinking, "There's nothing I'd rather see less than myself in any movie."
Because you want
No,
escapism. You're
no,
not
yeah, I don't
you're
wanna
looking for a
see my
story,
own
not me.
face in, like, a Pride and Prejudice or whatever. No, get it out. But, like, I feel like this idea of how they might use generative AI is actually, like, kinder than how they actually wanna use generative AI. Like, I think that this is, like, has more of a creativity and, like, humanity in it because, like, you're actually putting an actor
Mm.
into the role and you're, like, making them kind of go through the movie like a stage play. Like, that feels to me
They even said
like,
that. Like
yeah,
the
like, it's
play.
more
Yeah.
there's more humanity. I think that what they really wanna do is just, like, take out actors from the equation entirely. I think what they would actually do would be, like, create an AI character of Brandy Friday and then just
100%.
pop her into the movie over the existing performance versus, like, having the actual actress go in. So I was like, it was weird to watch the movie and be like, "Yeah, I think actually what they wanna do with AI is definitely worse than this."
Yeah, so it's interesting to watch Black Mirror and say, no, I actually think there's a worse future because usually it's like, here's the worst future of this. So that is interesting. It's also interesting, like again, going back to AI and like the technology of AI, is the going to the Google Glass, whatever it's called. Like speaking of like movies, one thing they had with the Google Glass, like you could watch your television, but then you could like change your surroundings so you could pretend like you're in a movie theater or pretend you're in like jungle. And like that's so weird. Like again, the enhancement of like watching a movie. Like I want to be in my living room watching a movie, not
Yeah.
again pretending like I'm somewhere I'm not. Like that's like something. And I know VR is a big thing, and people love VR. Like worlds in the VR. That's something I could never like kind of get into as right now. Maybe we will be forced to in our lives, but it's just like living in a world. But then we're on the internet all the time. We're always on the computer, and that's a world that's not outside, right? But it's like
Yeah,
a world. Like if you really think of it, we're all on it. Like we're constantly on it, and
true.
we're all on it for work too. So it's just like
Mhm.
your
Just
world that used to
constantly.
be interacting with people in a boardroom doesn't exist anymore. You're on Zoom or you're on,
Oh,
email,
yeah.
and it's a different world. So that's why it's like we're like, we would never do that, but then wouldn't we? Like we always say, like, oh well, we are detached from the internet. Like we're, I hate to say what everyone says, but we're addicted to our phones. Like we have a little pocket of the other world in our hands all the time. And I'm not saying we're all, we're all injected into this world constantly, but every moment I think we are getting closer to it.
That's so true. I saw something, I can't remember who said it, but it was something that was like, the internet used to be like a place that you went, like, it was like a
Mhm.
desktop computer in a
Now it's a place
room.
you leave.
And now it's a place that goes with you everywhere. Now it's a place you cannot escape, and I do
Yeah.
feel like there there have been negative consequences of that. I feel like it life was a little bit better when, like, the internet was in a room and you visited the internet and then you left the internet. Like, you visited and you left. Like, you can't visit the internet anymore. The internet's kind of everywhere.
Well, yeah, or even if you look at it in a little bit less dark way, but kind of similar place, is the idea of like you're living, let's say, your internet life for 12 hours of your day, and then you'll have like 2 or 3 hours outside of it. Well, I mean, think about your work
Of
schedule,
your
right? Like,
non-internet life, yeah.
yeah, but then you're like, you escape and leave the internet. But like you were saying earlier, it used to be you're on the internet for 2 hours, right? And you're just like, oh, I'm playing my games or whatever. And then you leave for real life. So it's like the reversal
It
of like,
does, yeah.
right? So it's
In
like,
real
oh, now
life.
real life is only for 2 hours. And then our internet life is for a majority of our lives. So even communicating with each other. I mean, luckily, like I get to see my humans a lot, but like there's people that, in which is not negative or positive, but like that only can do it through text message all the time, and you don't live
It's
close
true,
enough, and you're
yeah.
always through text, and it's just a different way of communicating.
Yeah, yeah, I was just surprised by this one where I was like, I think that the future that the movie studios want is actually, much less creative, much less humanistic, and much darker than, like, this. Like, they were like, "This is future technology," and I'm like, if they had that technology, they would just create an AI of this actress, and they would just dub her in, and she wouldn't even be involved in any way. I think there was an episode, in the previous season where it's like, this girl's life kind of becomes like a Netflix series because when she signed the terms and conditions, she allowed them to, like,
Mhm.
do whatever basically to her, and it was very funny, but I was like, "Yeah, that feels more akin to, like, what they would actually do, where they would just take all your data and do whatever they want with it, versus this where they're like, 'We're gonna put you in, like, a lovely stage show from the 1940s, and you might fall in love.'" Like, that's not what they're gonna do with AI. It's gonna be so much worse than that.
And maybe they're trying to plant the seed, be like, if we can't escape AI, maybe we can make it,
Yeah, they're
we
like,
can work together. Well, and
instead of
that's go on.
just dubbing Ryan Reynolds' face over something, what if what if we just put somebody into a play?
And something you can look back at too is that I remember when I was growing up in the internet, like we didn't, again, we had the 2 hour internet. My grandma would never touch, and she never did until she died, but she would never touch the internet. She's like, it's bad. There's only evil on there. And then like, yeah, there is a lot of evil on there. But there's good stuff too. Like our lives are different in a better way. We can
Yeah,
communicate with people that we never would have. We have more, more open views and stuff like that. You could find community. So I hope in the future, the things that, we again, going back to the AI of Hollywood, is just like, maybe there would be more of something like this, if the AI has to be bled in somewhere. Like maybe it'd be more this version and not the complete evil version. Or maybe the complete evil version will happen one day and the other version can happen the next. Like, can technology be a tool to betterment or not? And I think the answer is yes and no, right? Like there's days where it's going to be horrible, and there's going to be days where it's like, no, actually it helps somebody, or it is helping your life. So because I think we do see technology as this horrible thing that's happened in our lives, but then also our lives wouldn't be this if we didn't have it. So
yeah, in many ways, our lives are much better because of technology, but I feel like we also experience often the ways that they're worse. So I
sure.
did think that this had, like, yeah, a very kind of, like, not balanced view of AI, but it's like,
The less
yeah,
detrimental, I guess.
the AI, like, allows her to do this, have this experience where she, like, learns something about herself. It allows her to fall in love with this woman, but at the end of the episode, she's now fallen in love with somebody who she can never be with. So it is kind of bittersweet in a way. Like, yes, she had this very important experience, this beautiful experience, but ultimately it can never be like a real part of her daily life. And
But
I
at
think
the
that
same
that
time, it's like someone passing away, right? Like you kind of have to
mhm.
deal with grief. So you would hope that this character could deal with grief and not just feel utterly attached. But then also going back to the studio, I think going back to the positive side, it's like another version of this show would have been like, oh, the studio wouldn't care if she died. The studio honestly did a lot to try to make her not die, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that they still were, like, trying to operate in, like, an area of reality where, like, if you killed an A-list actress, you would be in a lot of trouble, which I did think that part, like, while they're in the studio and they're just freaking out was very funny. I also thought it was very funny that they managed to get, like, an A-list actress, but they only had, like, what was it, like, 90 minutes or 2 hours of the space, and I was like, "Wait, why do they have to do it in this, like, studio space?" Like, she's basically just lying there while they watch the movie on a big screen. Like, couldn't they have just popped a projector kind of anywhere? I don't know. Then I started nitpicking while I was watching. I was like, feels like they could have sort of had this anywhere because the time crunch becomes like a major element to
Sure.
like why they can't just sit her down and like really explain how all the technology works because they don't have the space for that long, so they just shove her in.
But
But
even if they could
I felt
explain it,
like
it
that was a
still
little
would have
clumsy.
happened, right? Like it still would have been the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you might say, like, if she'd had enough time to, like for them to explain the whole process and really go through it with her, she might have been prepared instead of, like, dropped in. They might have had a discussion about whether she could play piano, stuff like that, so it, like, might not have all gone off the rails. But I did feel like them having to rush her because of that studio space was, like, a little bit it made me question the studio space aspect of the story too much. I was like,
Right.
I feel like we could have gotten to them rushing some other way that was felt like a little bit more realistic to me. But they did establish that the studio had that old timey studio had no money. So
That makes sense because they weren't making any other movies. So
they
I
weren't making any movies. They were just redubbing old ones. They should have done the Disney and instead of doing animation to live action, which is I've been pitching constantly,
mhm.
uh live action to animation.
I would
Live
like
action
that a
to
lot
animation.
more. That would be fun.
Let's just bring back some movies and, like, make them, like, fun cartoon characters instead.
It'll take time, but I would like to see that. Although I will say I'm kind of interested in seeing Lilo and Stitch, so maybe I am the problem.
I might see that one too, who knows?
He was kind of cute. I know in
Sti
the movie, but
Stitch is pretty
he was
cute. I
cute.
think it helps that it's, like, not based off of, like, a real animal, so I'm, like, not there's no uncanny valley there for me.
I think that really is the key. I think that's like, and obviously Lilo looks very young, so I'm like, oh, that's a little weird to watch as a live action film. This like little girl, with this dog alien. Um, but I think that's a good idea. Live action animation.
We gotta do it, we gotta do it.
I agree.
So I think that's gonna wrap us up for this Black Mirror episode. Kat, if next season, if they drop another gay episode, are you gonna
We'll
drop
do an
in?
episode. Yeah, no, I would. I like again. It's not. I don't have any hatred towards Black Mirror.
Yeah.
I enjoy it when I watch it. It's just I don't sit down and watch anthologies because again, one episode could be like this, and the next one can make you cry, and then the next one could just be bad. So I'm just
Could
like,
just
oh, I'd
y
rather watch ones that like the Miley Cyrus one. I'd watch that. I'd
You'd
watch
like that one.
the Anthony Mackie ones. I'm like, oh, those are topics I'm interested in, and actors I'm
Yeah,
interested in.
you
I
should
feel like
watch the
I do
video
that.
game one and report back because that one's wild. I
I've
did
only heard
not
good
really
stuff.
see yeah, I did not see when I started watching that one, I was like, "Oh, where's this one going?" Oh." That was
I'll
not
say I know the
expecting it.
twist of it, but I still think
Yeah.
I'll enjoy the ride.
Yeah, it's when you go in and you don't know the twist is even like, "Whoa,
Right.
okay," like funnier. Okay, I think that will wrap us up on Black Mirror's Hotel Reverie. Kat, what are you up to on the internet? Where can people find you? Do
Uh,
you have a Kickstarter?
I do have a Kickstarter for my superhero book, My Father Like Daughter. It's about a high school girl. Father left her to become a full-time superhero. Everyone in the world loves him except for her, and then she inherits his abilities. This is a jumping on point arc where we get to see her finally take on that mantle. Really excited about this one, so go check it out. And then follow me at Comic Uno everywhere and got some stuff cooking up, but at least I'm not traveling this very second. So that's nice because I
Nice.
just got back from some cons and traveling. So
Must be nice to be able to relax a little bit.
until May.
So you've got like a week.
Yeah, I got about a week. At least one's a vacation. The other one's work, but at least one's a vacation.
Nice. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Mojotastic, and you can also find me as a co-host on Supergirl Radio, where we have been going through the All-Star Superman book issue by issue, because that's supposed to be an inspiration for the upcoming James Gunn Superman film. And then there's a new Supergirl comic coming out sometime in
Yeah.
May, I think mid-May. So we'll be talking about that too. So you should check that out.
I was like, it's coming out soon, and I was like, oh
So
wait,
soon.
yeah, it's like next month.
So soon. Okay, well, then I guess until next time, stay legendary.